Alex Kamal, the Mariana Valley Martian with the Texan drawl, pilot of the Rocinante, and now, on the TV show and in terms of where the books went, prematurely dead. There's been a lot in the news about the actor Cas Anvar and those sexual misconduct allegations that all fans of The Expanse have cringed and despaired over. But this video is not about the actor, but instead a tribute to the character Alex Kamal. However, references to the actor will be hard to ignore. I think, like most fans of the TV show, I have come to love this all-too-human character, and also been intrigued as to where this character came from and his background.
Donkey balls.
Now, most of us by now are aware of the basic premise of Alex's story, that of a previous Martian Navy transport pilot and family man ending up at the helm of the Canterbury along with a ragtag collection of crewmates, most seemingly running from something in their lives.
You know, for a badass Mickey Navy boy, you're a pretty whiny little bitch.
I was just a transport pilot, you yahoo! You understand? I wasn't trained for this shit! Just a glorified bus driver, okay? You satisfied?
Although I have not read the books or novellas, I have read Origins, the graphic novel which I have covered in a previous video, and this does go into a little detail about Alex's past, of which the basic outline being that Alex, once enlisted in the MCRN and flying transport ships, left the Navy to pursue a life back on Mars and his duties with his family after learning his wife was pregnant. During this period, Alex yearned to get back into that pilot seat, and while he let himself go a bit during this time, Alex began to come to terms with his love to be at the helm of a spacecraft, a love that was greater than the love for his family. While on Mars, Alex has trouble reconnecting with his son following long periods away in the Navy, and way more acutely, his wife loses a child through a miscarriage, the second time this has happened to the couple. This trauma, along with Alex's overwhelming desire to be back in a pilot's seat, becomes the catalyst for him to leave his family and escape his anguish. And talking of anguish, don't they have dishwashing machines 300 odd years in the future? And so, to cut a long story short, eventually Alex winded up on the Canterbury, a post which enabled him to, temporarily at least, fly away from his grief, escape his responsibilities as a father and husband, and give him his fix of pulling G's piloting a spacecraft, even if the Cant was a bit of a nail. At this point, I just want to talk about that basic outline there, that Alex left his family because he cared more about flying around the solar system at 50,000 miles an hour with his hair on fire. One thing The Expanse is always great at is the level of ambiguity applied to most of the characters, where it is left up to us individually as to how we feel about a particular character. A lot of viewers will not be able to understand Alex's position, especially as he often showed that he cared for his family deeply. But I personally see his standpoint from two perspectives. One, that despite having very strong feelings for his wife and son, he found himself unable to fulfill these roles and felt lost at sea, or I should say lost in space, in articulating and expressing these feelings in a family setting. A characterization which a lot of us could appreciate but not necessarily understand in respect to our own personal family settings. And the second perspective is that because of his emotional torment, his inabilities as a father and husband, he most likely felt that piloting a spacecraft around the solar system was a welcome distraction to his dilemmas. But in spite of this, I do understand his desire to be back at the helm of a spacecraft, above all else. I think it's worth a quick look again where the first season of the TV show gave a very brief outline of Alex's past, in episode 6, plus first a quick scene from episode 5.
What's her status?
Oh, she is one beautiful lady. She purrs like a kitty at 12 G's.
No.
Why don't you spin some script? Go on. It'd be good for you.
I can't.
Oh, come on. You're not married.
What makes you say that?
Like I said, I grew up in places like this. was married. Out on a run, all I could think about was getting back home. And lying in my bed, all I could dream about was getting back out here. Big Brass said I didn't have what it takes to fly them badass gunships. I will tell you one thing. Flying the Rocinante back there, that was just about the best feeling I've ever had.
And this was built upon further by Alex finally having the balls to message his family in season 3.
Hey, y'all. It's Alex, your daddy. Well, I mean, your husband and your daddy. It feels kind of awkward, actually. Talking like we all don't know each other. But I guess it has been a while. Hell, you might not even recognize me, little guy. So, I should have called you after the Donager, I know. Well, I guess I'm doing it now, right? Better late than never. Sorry. I know you hate when I say that. Look, I just want to make sure y'all are safe with everything that's been going on right now. Look, I don't think Earth would ever bomb Mars, but people have been acting real crazy lately, so you pay extra special attention to those drills at school, all right, cowboy? You listen to what the government and your mama tells you. They'll keep you safe. I've been an awful husband. And a worse father. I know. I'm just trying to do some good out here. And we have. I have. I think this is what I've always really wanted to do. More than I wanted to be there with you. I just could never really tell you that. Because I don't think I knew myself. But that doesn't mean that for 1 second I did not love you. Both of you. Very, very much.
Now, I'm no expert, but telling your wife and son that you weren't dead after all, and that there was something more important all along to Alex than shaping up to his family responsibilities has got to hurt in anyone's book.
Alex, we thought you were dead for so long. And I'm glad that you're not. Really, I am. But you waited too long. Milos has learned to live without a father. And a real husband wouldn't have done that to his wife. I'm glad that you have something more important than us. Because we don't need you anymore.
And the response Alex received back was not surprising, and from his point of view, probably what he wanted to hear, that he just wasn't important to them anymore. Even though that under the surface, maybe that wasn't the whole truth. But for Alex, he was kind of off the hook. There was a time when I was younger, I used to mess around with fast Japanese motorcycles, and I'm ashamed to say that I more than once chose my love of bikes over personal relationships, although it was never a case of wife and children. But the point I'm making here is that the feelings that Alex expressed to Amos at that bar matched very well to my own very strong desire to be at the controls of fast bikes. And I should add, fast bikes that, as well as personal relationships, cost me my spleen and a kidney, but I still yearn to be riding again. Alex's situation could well be matched with all sorts of other pursuits and pastimes that many of us can relate to. Horse riding, motorsports, paragliding, base jumping, skydiving, rock climbing, parkour, slacklining, Okay, I think you get the picture. Of these, maybe some of us have found a connection with over personal and family responsibilities. Somewhere in there is where I think Alex is coming from, as well as his feelings that going out into space and flying spacecraft makes up for personal deficiencies in his relationship with his family, and provides a useful escape mechanism which for Alex is easier than dealing with his other problems. Out of all 5 seasons of the TV show, most fans, I believe, would pick season 4 as their least favourite season. A season which I've seen a lot of comments here and there along the lines of slow going, little space action, no space battles, too much time spent on Illis, didn't move the story along much compared to other seasons, etc. I understand these comments, even though I don't agree with all of them. However, season 4, I thought, was possibly Alex Kamal's best season. Alex got a fair bit of screen time, which hasn't always been the case in the past. Being the pilot of the Rossi kind of sidelines Alex to his loft conversion, doing his pilot stuff. Yes, there has been episodes from previous seasons where Alex gets to mess about a bit, getting drunk, slingshotting, a couple of firefights. And of course there was some group action stuff, which particularly brings to mind for me the Eros chase, defending the Razorback in season 3, and of course piloting the Razorback in season 5. Now I'm missing a whole lot of stuff, I know, but being the pilot does mean that Alex was stuck by the ship a lot, which did limit his involvement with some plot lines and action scenes. However, season 4 gave Alex opportunities for screen time, but for me it was the more nuanced and subtle character expressions and reactions, of which there weren't that many, this is true, but season 4 nevertheless summed up for me, and I'm going to speak a little of the actor Casanvar here, where the actor truly started to shine in the role and character he has made his own. And so, through the actions of a primary actor in our beloved show, we were left with a premature death in season 5. Now I totally get the impossible position the showrunners were placed in regarding Alex Kamal. They decided to kill off the character, which I do understand why. Casanvar made the role so his that a recast after 5 seasons with Anvar was unlikely, but admittedly not impossible. And so looking at Alex Kamal's final episode, from my point of view, and others might have different opinions on this, there are about half a dozen points in the episode in which they either inserted, created or edited material to round off the character's story in the TV show. These possibilities may well have been discussed already in the Expanse subreddit or elsewhere, but I've not really searched, but have seen some comments.
Suck on that, motherfuckers!
The line where Bobby states that we could stroke out.
We have a broken maneuvering thruster. You'll be trying to dock 2 damaged ships in a high G turn. The braking burn will be hellish. We're already juiced to the gills. We could stroke out.
I've seen some people stating they thought this was a post-production insert to reinforce the likelihood of Eva stroking out. I'm not sure about this, as there have been many references throughout the TV show of this danger and possibility of happening. Bobby calling Alex on the radio.
Does Holden know we got her? What is the Rossi's ETA? Alex, do you copy? Alex, reply. Do you read me?
Now this does carry the possibility of being a post-production audio edit. The fact that the comments are made over a radio means that the quality of any inserts are not so much of an issue. Matching any existing audio is not so much of a problem. They're also made without the character's face visible, which makes things easier. It was simply an ideal scenario in which to insert some isolated audio, post-production included, but whether this was created during the editing process or as an insurance during filming and audio recording is another matter, and I'll touch on that shortly. Alex's last line in the show.
That was one hell of a ride.
Now whether this was a line that was already in the script and existed, Or was a line Alex said in an earlier episode and was not used? Or was it even a recording made after the actor was fired and he was convinced to record this line? The last possibility is, I admit, a slim one, and I believe that this was a recording that already existed, either from the original Season 5 script or an earlier one. And the reason I believe this is partly based on the last visual of Alex. The image of Alex on the Razorback, post-stroke with blood coming out of his nose. I think this is straight up simply a freeze frame, nothing more, of a suitable moment in time where he had the right expression and pose. The view of Alex from behind just previous was either a shot that was already in the can or of a stand-in. The conversation between Holden and Naomi in the medbay. Now I'm not certain, but I think this was a scene recorded based on the status of the actor and the insurance policy in case matters went the way they did. The outside possibility is that Stephen and Dominic were asked to come in specially to record this scene after everything blew up regarding the actor, but I'm really not sure on that one, and this is based on the other parts filmed. There were added complications to this in that all personnel involved would have to be quarantined in Toronto especially for this, and possibly other scenes. The exchange between Amos, Naomi and Holden in the Rossi airlock. From photographic evidence, I think this was clearly an insurance policy, as it was shot with and without Alex, and with the script based on his death. The conversation between Avasarala and Bobby in the Luna Bar area. I believe this was another example of creating a scene touching on Alex's death as an insurance backup during principal photography. There also exists some photos showing Alex in the Luna Bar scenes. Clearly reshoots in post-production were highly unlikely. As well as rebuilding all these sets to reshoot, you have the background extras to bring back also, coupled with the pandemic and quarantine issues to deal with that made reshoots very unlikely, as well as very expensive of course. If you go along with the reshoots idea, then why do all the editing and effects work to omit Alex from this Luna scene when you could just refilm it? So if you take into account all aspects from all angles regarding Alex Kamal's on-screen death, there's clearly been extra work carried out to prepare for this eventuality in the form of extra scenes that supported the Alex death narrative. There was an interesting quote by showrunner Naren Shankar I saw from an interview on the Den of Geek website regarding the subject of reshoots in Season 5. It's only one line, but to me it says an awful lot. The conversations went way back. Without getting into detail, the conversations have been going on for a while. So going by Naren Shankar's comment, it appears preparations for Kassanvar's exit had been in motion for some time, and you can understand Shankar's restraint, as this would mean insurance scenes had been filmed in secret and without Anvar's knowledge, possibly alongside the originally planned scenes with Anvar. Some people might look on this as a guilty before innocent approach. Was that approach right or wrong? I think it's neither, but merely looking at the situation from a business standpoint. But clearly the behaviour of the actor was already known, and his misdemeanours began shaping the studio's approach long before the wave of allegations appeared in June 2020. Now the timelines regarding the actor's allegations and Season 5 filming don't add up for me. Season 5 principal photography wrapped up on the 20th of February 2020. The first public allegations against Kassanvar surfaced in the second half of June, so something was afoot that gave the studio and showrunners cause to film these additional scenes, and that must have surely happened alongside the original Anvar scenes in secret back in late 2019 or early 2020. But back to the exit of the character Alex Kamal. I can't help but feel that the last episode has an element to it which reeks of the calamity which was the Game of Thrones final season. All that time spent fleshing out compelling and fascinating characters, which when the writers ran out of source material, it all went down the bog. With Alex Kamal, There was nowhere to go with this character and no room for manoeuvre, which backed the writers into a corner, and so we were served up with an ending which was sudden, simple, and with no depth or follow-up of significance. And so it goes that Alex Kamal is no more. Regardless of the actor's actions, we will always have 5 glorious seasons of one of the most unique and interesting pilots in science fiction. And I'm sure I feel the same as anyone who has watched this video to this point. We are somber and sorrowful to see the character go.